Hello and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, Labour insists on shutting down the nation's economy in protest against a hike in the price of petrol. Inflation rises, hits a 6-year high of 13.7%. Niger State government stops state sponsorship of religious pilgrimage. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. In the last few days, labor unions have shown a determination to take to the streets on Wednesday in protest against the recent hike in the pump price of petrol. While they perfect their plans, the federal government sought to dialogue with them as the nation cannot afford to see workers down tools at this critical time. The dialogue ended in deadlock. Right now, the federal government and the organized labor are still in talks. Should labor be allowed to carry out its plans? The Nigerian economy will be brought to its knees, and this will further compound the nation's economic woes, especially now that inflation has hit a 6-year high at 13.7%. What are the options available to government as it seeks a way out of this problem? Before I start today's program, I'd like to start on a note of caution. Yesterday's edition of Journalist Hangout, very interesting. Lekon Shote was here, and Lekon Shote was here. Babajide Otitoju was seated, and somebody called, her name Olubumi, called in from Abeokuta in Ogun State. And Olubumi went ahead, and Olubumi insulted my journalist. Please, my job here is to protect the interest of the journalists here. They are gentlemen of the press. They don't belong to any political parties. They are not politicians. They are people that are trained in the act of analyzing and interpreting news. So it's Olubumi just went, against our code of conduct on the program. And please, I want to appeal to our callers and our viewers. Anytime you want to call in, make your point, react to any issue, please don't attack my guests. I'm here to protect my guests. Any journalist, don't attack the journalist. I will not be seated here and allow anybody like Olubumi did yesterday. So I want to use this opportunity to tender a reserved apology to Lekon Shote. Uncle Lekon Shote was here yesterday, and Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Olubumi went just crossed the line yesterday, and that is unacceptable. So, to the program, Babajide Kolade Otitoju is in the house today again. Jide, how are you?
Thank you very much. If Olubumi does that again, she will see the full range of my fury.
Actually, we were in the studio yesterday. We didn't just hear yes what happened yesterday. So it was after the program we had to preview that, and so that Olubimi went just off the cuff. And I have Wahid Bakari with me. Wahid,
it's my pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you again.
It's my pleasure.
And I have Yinka Oyegbile.
I'm fantastically pleased to be here.
Yeah, Yinka. And Yinka, we're counting down, Yinka. let me start from you, because there's been this euphoria about this the Nigerian Labour Congress calling out Nigerians and saying people should stockpile food, and tomorrow they are meeting right now. So we are not 100% sure that action will be allowed to take place. But we are looking, if Labour should embark on a nationwide strike tomorrow, Yinka, just what will be the implication of this strike?
Well, I hope the strike will take place.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Even if Labour goes ahead to declare it, that they are still going on strike, I'm not sure. I may be wrong, but I'm not sure they have the population that will go with them. What has happened now is that the labor that we have at present has been completely compromised.
How?
Compromised in the sense that When they were supposed to speak, they never did. For over 6 months or 7 months now, the media have been awash with states that are owing workers. 27, if I'm not mistaken, out of 36 states are owing workers nothing less, at the minimum, 4 months. Labor never saw it fit to talk them. Now, you are talking of people are already suffering. They have not been paid for months. Now it is when the government has increased the fuel price that you now gained your voice. It is not as if what the government has done is fantastic, is correct or is right.
Fantastically right.
Good.
But what is there is this. When Labour was supposed to speak, to act, they never did.
They lost their voice.
Now, people have already been used to buying the fuel at 180, 200, 300 at some ridiculous prices. And now government had come out to say, okay, it is 145. If you check the social media, you notice that majority of people have been lambasting the labor leaders that this is not the right time to call up. The time has passed when you are supposed to call out your people or make your voice heard. You never make your voice heard. It is now that you now want to redeem your image. It is too late as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think, I will be surprised if they succeed, because majority of people are already, as we say in Nigeria, have taken it, they have shrugged their shoulder and said, well, if that is the way things will get better, let us move ahead. So, to call out people to do what? To stop going to work and also suffer more again? I mean, I don't think it's...
Maybe government will call them and, meet, dialogue with them, and they will meet at how to cut down on...
They are already in dialogue with government. And let me tell you, what some of the people have even been saying is that this is now a time they think they will have their own... I mean, Nigerians, everyone is suspicious of the other man. The labor leader, how many? We have 2 NLC presidents now, isn't it? Our former colleague Joe Ajero is leading one flank, Waba is leading another flank. So which of the two will the government negotiate with? And if you look at it critically, many people that I have spoken to believe that the 2 labor leaders are only there because
they are selfish.
Exactly, their own selfish interest. That's all.
Okay. Wahid, tomorrow's action, before now, when you have the Nigerian Labour Congress calling out, people, I've seen strikes in Nigeria, and I've seen these people bringing the the economy of the country to a halt, and for 3-4 days, sometimes 1 week, especially under the comrade governor in those days, Adams Oshomole, and we leave Abuja, come to NLC here at Yaba, and we march from Yaba, we come to Maryland, and total compliance. The strike will be effective. Are you expecting something like that tomorrow?
Of course not, because in the days of Oshomole, that was when the Nigerian Labour Congress could speak with one voice. But as today, we have 2 fashions. If you remember yesterday, when they had meeting with the government, the government first met the first fashion. They later met with the second version. That is an indication that they cannot speak with one voice. Another thing is that yes, if you look at the history of labor industrial action in the country, it's all that for any labor action to be successful, Pengasan and Nupeng, they must play a vital role in it.
How?
Because of the fact that they are very strong union. Under Pengasan, under Nupeng, you have the PTD, that's the petroleum tanker driver. If petroleum tanker driver refuse to load petroleum products. Of course, naturally, Nigeria will shut down.
Yeah.
Doctors can't go to hospital. Teachers can't go to school. Nobody will tell you to remain at home. You just have to remain at home. As of today, we have a situation whereby Nupeng and Pegasan have already backed out of it. So, of course, it cannot succeed tomorrow. Besides, the purchasing power of the average Nigeria has drastically reduced. So where are they going to get money to stockpile food?
And inflation.
And you ask them to stay at home. Nobody is ready to listen to that. Because you discover that the majority of Nigerians, they are daily income earners.
Yeah.
If you don't go out on a daily basis, you can't put food on the table for you and your family. So how do you now ask such people to go on strike? Nobody will listen to them. Because if you look at the labor as we have it today, I think I've been seeing the photograph of a Land Cruiser, going viral on the internet. People accusing the labor leaders. That you said you are fighting for the common people. How come your leaders, they are riding this kind of jeep? Very expensive jeep. So how do you now listen to that kind of leaders? Of course, that thing will not work tomorrow. I don't see Nigerians going out.
You can't be too sure. Jide? Two sides, so let me get your side. How do you expect tomorrow?
I don't want the strike to happen. But I disagree that if the NLC calls people out, that the strike will not be successful. I look at Ajaero, how many people are with him? How many unions are with him? Even if the Nupeng were to go and load fuel, where would they sell it? This, what we are talking about, NURTW, is the most important at enforcing strikes in Nigeria. Because if they don't bring out their buses, their taxis, how will people move? How many Nigerians have cars? Look at the ratio of Nigerians who have cars to the ones that do not have. So the NURTW has always been effective at enforcing, at making strikes successful in Nigeria. It is even their Hutchins who block the roads. When you want to go to work, even in a branded car, they stop you. Sometimes they even beat people up. So, and we know that NURTW wants this strike. Ajaero, TUC wants this strike. TUC alone has more than 23 unions. Ajaero has electricity workers, Nupeng and Pengasan. And even the electricity workers, from time immemorial, they don't go on strike. They are not permitted to go on strike. It's police saying they are going on strike. So who are the people that he has? The reality is that the mainstream workers' union is the one that is headed by Waba. The former NLC president, the governor of Edo State, has done everything possible to try to resolve the conflict between these two people. These are a different generation of labor leaders that you cannot compare to the Hassan Sumonus of this world. Hassan Sumonu successfully prosecuted the battle for minimum wage in the very early 80s. And he succeeded. Even at that time, it wasn't like the NLC was united, because the civil service union at that time was not even with him. They've always had conflict. There has never really been a time when the generality of Nigerian workers spoke as one. You will always find division here and there. But what is happening now is extremely shameful, because even their election, their election lasted almost 3 days.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was conflict. Money has ruined the labor union. That's why everybody is stopped. People are looking at the labor leaders, the kind of vehicles, the kind of expensive lifestyle that they live. And people are wondering, should we support these people? But I know for a fact that if NLC says tomorrow, and I've been saying that this government must do everything possible to ensure that this strike doesn't happen, because we cannot even sustain a strike. We can't afford a strike at this time. This is a country that is broke. We can see how broke we are, to the extent that even mobilizing people for NYC is a problem. So we can't allow that to happen. But if schools, NLC, the NUT is with the Wabara faction, if teachers don't go to work, they will close schools. You cannot tell me that strike is not succeeding with that. So they have a critical core of affiliates to ensure that the strike succeed. But it is my wish that the negotiation will continue. Labour is perfectly right to get into a negotiation with government, because the reality is at 145 naira per litre, workers should be asking, how do they survive in this economy? So for me, if I were a labor leader, I will threaten strike. Then we'll start talking and I will ask for a minimum wage, because the minimum wage is even a requirement as far as the constitution is concerned. Yeah. There must be minimum wage and there must be living wage. The government is mandated to give the Nigerian worker a living wage and a minimum wage. So labor can continue to negotiate to say, look, we are not saying we don't want deregulation. For me, the reason why I want this deregulation is largely because of the corruption that has gone with this subsidy thing. Not that I don't know that people are suffering. But it's the corruption that I want an end put to. So labor should fight for a minimum wage. Otherwise, with the situation of things, how do they survive?
Jude, we want to quickly listen to the two labor leaders, or the two factions of the Nigerian Labour Congress ahead of tomorrow's action.
Proposed strike.
The issues of the planned action for Wednesday. Yes, when you are going to work, you get yourself prepared. And when you've declared that, until even at work, people discuss. So it doesn't stop anything. But what we are saying is that whatever action or decisions that are taken in the interest of Nigerians should be that would benefit Nigerians. You are aware of what the cost of transportation is now, today.
The issue of increase in pump price of petroleum products is not a labor issue. In the first instance, it affects all Nigerians. And on the basis of that, government invited us as a faction that is, that NUPEM belongs to. And considering the fact that even electricity is involved. So the two unions are under my own faction. But the other faction said they prefer a separate meeting, where we meet separately and they meet separately. And that is what you have seen here. And what that means is that we are going to have separate positions. And that Wednesday they have fixed for meeting, for action, cannot be a date for us. And because they are trying to appropriate the powers to call for action and to challenge issues on petroleum products, which they don't have.
My friend Joe Ajero there, the factional president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, and the one you saw earlier was the WABA faction of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Judy, we are seeing this thing play out, and government is torn between the devil and the deep blue sea, and
no, you
negotiate
know the reason,
with this person,
see,
negotiate with that person.
You know the reason why government negotiated with both of them. Both of them are crucial. We have sensible people in government. You can't say because they are divided. Look, let me tell you. You say they are divided because Pengasan is not involved, because no Peng is not involved. Pengasan rarely gets involved in strikes. Because what it means is that you shut down, if Pengasan gets involved, that means you shut down even oil exportation. They hardly get involved in strikes. I'm saying that it is very rare for Pengasan to even join the strike.
I think it was only during Abacha time that they...
And it was for a very short while. Then what government did at that time was that government now divided Nupeng along south and north. You had the northern Nupeng and the southern Nupeng. That was how they broke the back of Nupeng. Then of course with the arrest of Kokori and the rest of them. But the government knows that the Waba faction, if they were allowed to go on strike with the numerous unions under them, ASU, you always see Fashino with them. Fashino wants a strike.
Fashino.
Oh, yes.
Former president of ASU.
Yes, ASU is with them.
What it means is left it to the core.
What it means is that universities now, lectures will not happen. NUTs with them. They have people. So we don't want the strike to happen. Let government negotiate with them, make promises to them, as they did with ASU the other time. Strike does not pay anybody in the long run. People will suffer, people will get beaten, people will suffer broken heads. Yeah. Maybe you are going to somewhere and then you can be attacked. Yes, people get attacked. So we don't even want it. We don't want to imagine what will happen if it happens. But the reality is, nobody should think that, oh, the strike, if they call the strike, that it will not be successful. Nobody should think. Let the strike not happen. Let government do whatever it can do to ensure that the strike doesn't happen.
The National Industrial Court earlier today restrained the Nigerian Labour Congress from that industrial action. How effective is this order by the National Industrial Court?
Well, I think the order should be binding, because but except for the fact that in 2012 we had a similar scenario whereby they said they should not go on strike, but they still went ahead with the strike. I just hope they will listen to what the court has said, because there is no alternative to the rule of law. I don't believe that we should circumvent whatever the law has said. They went to the industrial court, and the industrial court came up with a position that don't go on strike. Based on that, I think they should just respect the court order.
Is the Attorney General that went there?
And continue with the negotiation.
I hold the same view, even though I believe that as it usually happens, the government,
they can claim that they've not been served.
Yeah,
they were not in court.
Of course, you respect that.
They are not aware.
They will claim that they have not been served, and government is always, or has always gone to court in all the. If you look at the history of Nigeria, anytime there's a call out for strike, the government will always go to court, and the industrial union will always flout it. So how they intend, maybe we are going to open a new chapter by tomorrow if these union leaders accept.
Or if they continue to talk to them, maybe something can happen.
So
the talks should continue.
It should continue, yeah.
It is the duty of the labor leaders to fight for the welfare of their members.
People, yeah.
And I think that if I were a labor leader and I'm confronted by this situation, I'm going to ask for a minimum wage, a new minimum wage, you know, based on what is happening. From the money that we are going to save, that those fat cats used to embezzle we can actually put some of it in the federal.
I wanted to remind you that that's federal government is a different kettle of fish.
They will earn more money now. They will earn more money.
It will be a ricochet effect.
They will earn more money.
They will earn more money, I suppose.
Rather than set money aside for subsidy payment, you can use some of the money. It's just a little that you need. You know.
I have my first caller. Aliyu is calling from Niger State. Hello.
Hello, Aliyu. Good evening.
It's been a while, Aliyu.
Good evening.
Aliyu Kaje Hutuke na.
I have to activate a plan B, Babajide. You know, these days are fantastic. Let me be clear here with something. Nobody will not support the labor from demanding more from the federal government. In fact, every sensible human being will love any force that will demand more from the government in order to see it do good for its own people. But the issue is that why not labor should come out clearly and fight a good cause? This issue of deregulation, issue of whatever they call it, some people call it liberalization or whatever they call it, we do know that it is same Nigerians that are suffering for this very oil. If we can be able to solve this very problem, even before when the price is 86 naira per liter, who get it at that very price? How many people? Majority of Nigerians like us bought it at higher price. Like in Niger State, we bought it at the rate of 160, 170. And in that, with that rate, you will even jump queue before you get it at that very rate. Now, if we are saying that the labor are going to embark on strike simply because of this, I want to believe it's not making sense to a common Nigerian like me, because this issue affects everybody and we are all civil servants. We know what is going on there. What I expect from labor is that they should fight for minimum wage.
All right, Aliyu.
We know that they are saving money.
Ali, you made your point. Noted. Thank you, Ali.
Fight
Thank
for
you.
minimum wage, which is a very valid argument.
That instead of embarking on this strike, they should fight.
You should negotiate. Okay, we are not engaged the regulation. We are not engaged removal of subsidy, but minimum wage.
Gentlemen, I want us to address this. How many Nigerians, especially our federal government or state government workers, how about those in the informal sector? As in, if we are fighting for minimum wage,
informal sector. When you talk about minimum wage, the private sector is involved.
Yes.
By the minimum wage law, the private sector should not also pay people lower than the going minimum wage.
But how many
so it's not
many of them.
It's because we've not been able to enforce it. Anyway, I've told people that Nigeria is not like South Africa, the capital of strikes, the global capital of strikes. If you do anything that they don't like, they go on strike.
Yeah.
And they will not relent until you listen to them.
There are some of these private schools that our children, they pay as much as 200,000, 250,000.
And they pay people 15,000 naira.
20,000 naira, 15,000 naira.
That's why they keep changing teachers. If you go to those schools, it's called at the beginning of every term, they will put notice outside. Teachers wanted all the time. Because they don't pay their teachers well. Despite the fact that parents pay through their noses to pay school fees.
And nobody can affect the principle of
our laws now.
That's why they don't encourage union in such places.
The thing is, in the labor laws in Nigeria are there for people to disregard. We have labor law, we have labor ordinances in Nigeria, but people really don't care. This is a country where Haitians will come here and turn our people to slaves, and will do nothing about it. This is a country where people will come from South Africa and set up some grocery chain and be telling people that they are not entitled to off day. And on the day they choose to say, look, I can't be working without off day. I can't be working Sunday and every day.
24/7.
The day that they do that, we go and bring some. They go and bribe some policemen, and police will go there and beat people up, and the next day they will replace all the people who went on strike. It cannot happen elsewhere.
Willing to replace them.
It cannot happen elsewhere, because I'm telling you, I was in South Africa in 2006 when ShopRite, they are not even the biggest grocery chain in South Africa, when people decided to go on strike there, and they didn't back down until they were listened to. In Nigeria, in Lagos, they beat people up like animals. They call police, they beat them up, and they chase them away and replace them with other people. There are no labor laws here are not home. And then there was a fire incident. And those people, all the workers were burned to death. What happened? He got a very big son in Nigeria to defend him. I'm not sure that man went to jail.
Of course not.
I have Abdullah from Niger State. Thank you, Abdullah. Hello, Abdullah. No, I can't. Abdullah, please call back this the audio quality there. And the federal government said they liberalized the price to end the incessant fuel scarcity.
You see, subsidy, the removal of subsidy.
The vice president said it's not removal of subsidy.
Well, it's just a matter of semantics, as far as I'm concerned. You see, the problem is that it's quite unfortunate that it is only in Nigeria whereby you ask the masses to bear the brunt of government inefficiency. The fact that people are taking advantage of subsidy is not enough to say you want to remove that subsidy. Because if you look at all over the world, all countries in the world, at least they have one commodity that they will subsidize. Of course, people will always subject them to abuse, but it's not left for the government to block those loopholes and make sure that it is the duty of government. You can't say we should continue to bear the brunt of your inefficiency, and you not say we should. It's like throwing away the baby with the bathwater. There should be the subsidy. You can't say because now by the time you remove subsidy now, it is only those cabal that have been benefiting from it that will no longer
get that so much money.
They will no longer have that benefit. Therefore, that they have stolen a lot of money in the past. But how about the ordinary people on the street? The economy is so bad to the extent that by the time you now had that one today without any palliative measure in place, it's like
people start committing suicide.
It's like you want to kill people. I'm afraid in the next if we continue like this, you will see that the rate of suicide in Nigeria will increase.
Will become like Japan.
If guy is not taking
depression.
Yeah. And it also leads to people cutting corners the more.
Yes.
Because, I mean...
You can breed corruption.
Exactly.
People must survive.
It surely will. If you are paying someone 18,000, he has I better pass my neighbor generator. Maybe he lives in Ikorodu and his office is in Ikeja or further beyond that. How do you expect such a person to go to work, come back home, and live a human life? He will be living far below the poverty level. And is it that kind of a man that you will want something and you say, okay, take this 1,000, and he will not do it? He will gladly do it.
No, his landlord will
bribery will become more
exactly.
His landlord will increase house rent.
I have Mohammed is calling us from Kaduna.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mohammed.
On the issue of the strike, I don't think it's necessary now.
Okay.
When will it be necessary?
It's not even necessary for now because the increment...
because you are putting for now, that's why I'm asking. Maybe you want it postponed.
You say what?
Do you want it postponed?
Now?
Go ahead.
So what I would tell Labour is that they should look for increment in wages so that they can make up from there. But going on strike, I don't think we'll just go after 2-3 days, we'll now come back without achieving anything. The best way is to ask for increment so that they can put it up with what has increased in the fuel.
Thank you, Mohammed. Beautiful point by Mohammed. I have the Vice President telling us about the palliatives that have been put in place to, in the 2016 budget.
We have capital and revenue in the current budget of 500 billion for social investments. Now, these social investments are meant to be government's direct interventions to create jobs and job opportunities and to stimulate the economy. Graduate unemployment is a major issue. Even non-graduate unemployment is a major issue. And one of our campaign promises was that in every state we'll create 20,000 direct jobs. Now, these are not meant to be permanent jobs. They're meant to be jobs that provide an opportunity to work, and as the economy grows, people can then be absorbed into better jobs.
The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, talking about the incentives in the 2016 budget. Jide, our final take on this, because we will be monitoring what is happening in Abuja. Yeah. We'll be what is happening between the two.
We will. Yes, I've told people that the fact that the court gave that order does not mean it will be obeyed, because we even have a history of not obeying courts in Nigeria. The courts said that the PDP should not organize their Southwest Congress. They went ahead, they organized it. And we've had a history of NLC being told you can't go on strike, and they went on strike, and so those strikes were successful. So we are waiting. No, nothing ruled out, nothing ruled in. Anything can happen. As journalists, we are always ready.
We are prepared.
Yes.
Even the present federal government, they have had cause to disobey court rules.
Oh, sure.
Yes,
So
it can happen.
Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Yes.
Don't worry. For us, TV Continental, we're going to hit the streets tomorrow morning and give you detail by detail. Whatever, we're ready for it. If there's strike, no problem. If the thing is settled amicably before tomorrow, we'll give you updates. After this break, Niger State government stops state sponsorship of religious pilgrimage. Get our reaction shortly. Welcome back. You're watching Journalist Hangout Television Continental here in our Lagos studio. Now, Nigeria's inflation rises to 13.7% in April. And I can also tell you the increase in PMS price pushed up the country's inflation. That is according to National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. April inflation rate was the highest recorded since January. Now, looking at this, gentlemen, we have double-digit inflation rates, and according to analysts, this has not happened in the last 6 years.
Yes.
This is very, very dangerous. 13.7%. Jide, what does this portend?
Yeah, it shows that it's becoming more and more difficult to live in Nigeria. That's the plain truth. It's becoming very expensive to live in Nigeria. And I've heard people say, what is happening? Tomato is very expensive now. Just 4 tomatoes going for 300 naira. A basket going for like 35 to 36,000 naira. And you know how people like rumors a lot. They are saying, oh, it's Dangote who is buying up all the
all the tomatoes.
Meanwhile, the farmers in Kano State, where Dangote set up the tomato concentrate, are saying that they are not being patronized. They are not even being patronized enough. The GM of the company is saying, see, the problem is that the tomatoes that these farmers are bringing to us, the viscosity, that is the thickness of it, is just not enough for the tomato paste that they do. So a lot of them are not being patronized. And up till now, we've not found a way to preserve tomatoes. Yeah. So there was bumper harvest because of they anticipated that the Dangote factory will buy up their tomatoes, but it didn't happen. A lot of them in Nanga, they just cut their tomatoes and left the tomatoes
because
to dry.
What you're saying, Jide, you know, it's very, very important to the common
yes.
Nigerian.
I just think that fellow Nigerians need to know, because we are hearing, even in Benin, people are swearing at Dangote that is the one who he bought up tomatoes even from the farms. But this is a lie. This is not what is happening.
That was
the reality.
Report.
The reality is that transport costs have driven up virtually everything. And it will get worse because even Naira, the Naira continues to slide badly against the dollar. It's heading towards 400.
Yes, yesterday was 370 something, today 345, you know, very, very...
So it will now, you'll see that the figure for the month of May will probably be the worst in Nigerian history. The figure for the month of May, because with even the increase in fuel prices now, with the dollar doing so well against the Naira, based on increased demand from petrol marketers and all that. And when we tell petrol marketers to go and source for Forex in the secondary market, how much are they going to sell the product? So if they succeed in getting Forex at dollar at 500 naira to $1, how much are they going to sell petrol to us?
It's almost unbearable.
I hope that day doesn't come.
I pray so.
Have you been consuming tomato in your house?
Of course.
He knows the price. He knows the landing cost of tomato.
I was at the Sunday market on Sunday. Out by here, you know, and I saw a lot of women,
for himself.
you know, complaining. And the funniest thing is that the seller will not even, the moment you start to bargain, they will just look the other way.
Yeah.
They are not bothered. And if care is not taken, the inflation rate will continue to go high, simply because we still depend so much on imported goods. As long as we continue to do that, you know,
can we solve that? Can we have a short-time solution to that?
We should by being less dependent on imported goods.
It took us years,
including this petrol.
It's also interesting to know that as we speak today, Nigeria imports we import tomatoes. You will be shocked that we get tomato from neighboring countries.
Yes.
As well as Gary.
If you go to ShopRite, you'll see tomatoes.
As well as Gary. I don't know what will make me to go to ShopRite to go and buy tomatoes there.
But it's there.
But because you know that the army Nigerian, we believe so much in status symbols.
We import beef from Kenya.
Yes, because we believe so much in status symbols. People want to throw party. They want to tell people that even the toothpick that they use
we import eggs. We import eggs from South Africa, and we are a greater producer of eggs than South Africa.
We imported it. They want to tell you that the matches they are using at home is imported. Everything they are using at home is imported. We are so obsessed with importation.
German deals.
So they said that toothpick is that not madness for you to be importing toothpick so that they will now go about and be telling people
even beds
and be telling people that
and Benin people are very good at doing beds.
Oh sure.
So as long as we continue to do that, the inflation will continue to rise.
See, the clear example I used to give is this. I grew up in Jos, Plateau State. I was born there. I remember then that trucks and trucks of tomatoes used to travel towards Bauchi.
Yes.
That time there used to be a tomato paste factory in Bauchi. But down the line, all those things have disappeared. And we all know that all these tomatoes and the rest of them are seasonal. There are periods when they are in abundance. If you come to Jos at that time, you see them wasting away.
No storage
almost
facility.
exactly, almost giving you free of charge. But now, what has happened? Why is it that nobody has ever thought that we should build a factory that will conserve or store these tomatoes and so on, so that at this time they will bring them out. I remember that time my mother used to do something. She will cut them up and then dry in the sun. So when they become dried, they will keep them at home. And when the time of its scarcity comes, she brings them out, soak them in water, and then go and grind them. Those are the kind of, that's the local way of doing it. But at this time and age, we must,
big storage
exactly, all the money that we take and go and store in one bank abroad that nobody will spend, why are people always like this? Why don't we establish factories that will take care of such little things?
Okay, Michael is calling us. I think Michael is calling from Bayelsa State. Thank you for joining us, Michael.
No, thank you so much for picking my call, even though you're wasted on my credit.
Hey, Michael, we're sorry.
Okay. I want to contribute on the first part of the whole, your first part of the discussion.
Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Whereby you talk about this strike of a thing that the federal government is now fighting one way or the other to see that the strike did not hold. Now, is the government also a government of the people, or they are imposing what they want to do on us? Because to a large extent, the people you want to increase the product for so that they can be social welfare and other things are not interested in what you want to do. Yet they want to go ahead and impose it on us so that there will be more hardship all over the places. In 2012, Goodluck Jonathan...
All right, I think we lost Michael there. So, our final analysis of this, because this, no matter, in the last 3-4 years, I don't know, in 5 years, I don't think the salary, the Nigerian Labour Congress, I think the last time they pushed for this wage was like 5 years ago for 18, and 18,000 naira cannot take you anywhere now. Yes. You can't take 18,000 naira and go to the same markets, you know. To take somebody that is, you know, to take
with these like, figures that we are seeing, something must be done about the minimum wage.
If you are to buy, if you are to buy the tank you are filling for 4,000, 5,000, you are doing that now 9,000, 10,000. Yeah. No, and
no, the increment is about 80%.
Yeah,
that's massive.
Okay,
it's massive.
Moving on now, Niger State government announced that it borrows 400 million naira every month to pay workers' salaries. We were all alarmed by this decision. How could a state be servicing its recurrent expenditure with loans? We feared this action will further plunge into more debt, On this program, we suggested that states need to cut costs and block loopholes. The good news today is that this is exactly what the state has started doing. Recently, the state announced that it will no longer sponsor intending Muslim pilgrims to Hajj and their Christian counterparts to Israel. No doubt, this is a good decision, but is this all about cutting costs? Yiga?
It's about time. See, I've always believed that religion is a private affair. It should not be the business of government to sponsor me if I want to go to Israel or I want to go to Saudi Arabia. It should be
the public funds.
Exactly. But you see, there's also the problem of we Nigerians generally. I know of a colleague or a friend who holds the same opinion that I do about this issue of sponsorship. But 1 year came and he was sponsored on pilgrimage. And I asked him, I said,
he didn't reject it.
I said, oh boy, what now? He said, everybody is accepting it now. Why do you expect me to reject it?
And they will be giving allowance, extra code.
Big extra code. So I now said, look, the moment we don't see it as wrong when it comes to me, for instance, I'm against it. So if tomorrow now, the government now comes to me and say, okay, Mr. Igbile, we need your details. We want to send you.
Because you've not benefited directly.
You see, that's where the problem lies. But we must always, the same measure that we give another man should also be the same measure we should give ourselves. Why should government be concerned that whether I go to Hajj or not? And you see, the thing is this. In the Quran, I understand it is said it is compulsory. You must go.
If you can
afford it.
If you can afford it.
I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm not sure there is anywhere in the Bible where
you go to Jerusalem.
It says that you must go to Jerusalem. But the issue is this. The way we all think is this. If the government can sponsor a Muslim to
why not a Christian?
Why not me, a Christian?
Balance the question.
So exactly,
that's where it began.
Exactly, that's where it began, and it became a competition. So if Niger State government has decided that it can no longer afford it, I hope other states that can even afford it and do
Kaduna
more. Yes, Kaduna too. I think other states that can even afford it should scrap it once and for all.
Wahid, let me ask you this. It's as if politicians, they brought in politics and mixed it with religion. There's a way they get patronage from this,
organization.
Trying to send people to Jerusalem, trying to send people Hajj,
to repay them for their
loyalty. To repay them and followers. And there's a way that this will get you popularity in case you need second time in office if you're a governor.
Yeah. You see, the politicians, they are very wise. Wise in quote now. They are aware of the fact that if you want to appeal to pity and emotion, or you want to whip up sentiment, one of the best way to go about it is through religion.
Yes.
That's why they will always sponsor people. There are cases whereby, especially if it is an election year, they deliberately sponsor some people to go and pray for them.
That's the most ridiculous one.
The former president.
That's the one that thinking that once they are there, all their prayer will be answered. But I've always believed that. Instead of, a lot of people at times when they return from the pilgrimage, they still be finding it difficult to eat daily meal. Why not give such people economic empowerment?
Exactly.
Empower them, let them work. So that at the end of the day,
they can also give people employment.
They can also give people employment. They can also save on their own and be able to sponsor themselves.
And stop being reliant on government.
Next month now, it's time for Hajj.
So Niger State, they have no choice. They have no choice at all.
I think it's a good one.
So they have no choice. They have no choice. They just can't help it because there's no economic sense in it.
If you are borrowing 400
million naira every month to pay salary, and you want to spend millions of naira because you want to send people on Hajj. No.
It's chasing at foreign exchange again.
Yes. And some of them will want to get at the official rates.
Because
government subsidizes this thing for them to get, the normal religion and politics.
You know this Hajj thing. I remember when I was still a young journalist. One of the viewers was backing a young journalist. The Abacha family had an airline, and Mohammed Abacha and other people, they will bring prostitutes. You replace you that you've been duly accredited,
listed to
go to Mecca. They take your passport, replace it with the picture, put the picture of someone different. I'm sure people in Kano will remember that's around 1995, that period, and they will put somebody else's picture. They've already taken what they are selling is those ones are going there to do business, to do other things. But the extra code, the dollars that the government has allocated to you, it is what they are after. They will now take it, they will take like 80% of it, and then allow this person to get on the aircraft. I think it's Elcon here, I can't remember the name of the airline. So it was even fraud that they were doing with it at that time. Put Angulu's picture, used to replace a human being's picture. That's the way they were calling it then in Kano. So I think it has gotten to a point that even the man in Niger is a businessman, son of a former military governor. He's a businessman himself. He can see that it makes no business sense, to continue to do this. We can't continue to waste money on religious matters. Religion is a personal thing, like Bile said. It's a personal thing.
It is.
How you communicate with your God is your business. If you like, you can pray 1,000,000 times a day. As long as you don't disturb other people, your neighbors, by shouting at the top of your voice and making sure that they don't sleep because you want to pray. It is not anybody's business.
Crusade.
So we should not use public funds for religious affairs. I also know that during the Ramadan, governments will buy foodstuff and then be distributing with public funds. With public funds, they will buy foodstuff and be distributing to people. They will buy pieces of clothes. This yards, what do they call it? They will be distributing Ankara. They will be distributing to people. They say, oh, in the spirit of the season. But it's actually public funds that you are using for this. And when you continue to spend public funds on this sort of things, education will suffer.
Definitely.
Roads will suffer. Health will suffer. You won't be able to evacuate refuse when you should evacuate refuse, and the community will be dirty. So let them take a cue from what El-Rufai and the young man who is the governor of Niger State has done. The reality is there for anyone who really wants to survive. Any state that wants to survive, we can see clearly now that things are tough.
The final stake?
The final stake is that the labor should shelve the strike. They should continue with the negotiation for the betterment of Nigeria.
I stand with you, and I'll also commend Niger State for stopping sponsorship to Hajj. I hope other states will take a cue from it, whether they are able to afford it or not.
It's a good one.
It's the way to go.
They will save money.
However it's going to be, we're counting down here in TVC. From tomorrow, we're just going to be giving you updates of whatever is going to happen tomorrow. But we're going to be here again tomorrow to do a kind of post-mortem to look at the situation. However, if the thing is successful, and we'll be on the street to monitor every bit of that action.
I thought you were going to say when the thing is successful. I will have accused you of being a Waba boy.
So might go, and that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of this program. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also log on to our YouTube page, www.youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria, to see previous episode. I'm Ayodele Uzubahu. See you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria.